that's Kenny. You know that? That's Kenny. That's Kenny. You know what I'm saying?
Tokyo-based jazz alto saxophonist Patrick Bartley, originally from America, is one of the most talented players of his generation and one of my absolute personal favourites. Inside the Inner Circle membership, we were lucky enough to have a whole hour and a half with Patrick, and it was such an incredible interview. That alone is worth joining the Inner Circle, frankly. But what I thought I'd do today is pick out a couple of the highlights from that interview, which I thought were super interesting. So let's get into it. When Pat was young, he was already a gifted, precocious performer, musically advanced way beyond his tender years. So I asked him if he ever felt pressure to be a more mature person than he actually was, because people expected it based on his musical maturity. His answer is so fascinating, highlighting how both the saxophone and the influence of the strong matriarchs in his community gave him a sense of responsibility that outweighed any pressure or expectation that you might otherwise have experienced.
Man, this is probably the greatest question I think I've ever been asked, because it wasn't necessarily that I felt a pressure, more that I felt a responsibility. Because I grew up in Hollywood, Florida, a specific part of Hollywood, Florida. You know, it's basically the hood. You know, it's an inner city black neighborhood. I saw a lot of crime. I saw a lot of gang stuff. I saw a lot of stuff that people shouldn't see. You know, but because of, you know, I call them like the elders in the neighborhood, which is my grandmother, and there were 4 other older ladies. And no matter what happened, everybody always respected them. So I was almost kind of granted almost like an artificial protection, almost like born into some kind of protection is an interesting thing. But because my mother kept me out of trouble, and because I had the influence, you know, if I didn't have that, I would have went the other way. You know, I would have went the route of not respecting. I would have went the route of not seeing. But so it is less of a pressure and more of a responsibility, because I felt that that was the thing that was going to make me safe. And also, I loved receiving the love from my elders because it made me feel like I was doing something right. Because otherwise, on the other hand, I did do some stuff I wasn't proud of as a kid, because it's all we did to survive. We did a lot of stuff, you know, like we did a lot of stuff as kids to survive. But by the time I got this thing in my hand, completely changed. Now I had an actual physical manifestation of something that is made out of metal, but heals people instead of hurts people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize it at the time that I was feeling something deep about that. And I think that's the thing that kind of led me towards a more, yeah, I guess that's the reason why I didn't feel like pressure. And I think it's because I had such a strong presence of figures from the church in my neighborhood and my grandmother and all the ladies around me that I was able to look at that and not feel like, oh, I got to listen to such and such. No, I just did it. That's the reason why it was not a pressure, but a responsibility. And I felt good about it.
As someone blessed with perfect pitch, Patrick can instantly play and identify any note he hears. I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say that most of us mere musical mortals would kill for this superpower. But I was interested if there were any situations when perfect pitch was actually a disadvantage, and he gave a really interesting answer.
With the perfect pitch thing, yeah, like it does seem like a superpower, and I think as a result of that, it becomes kind of taboo to talk about it. So I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about it, because it's almost like one of those things like you're a freak and you have to realize that you're a freak, and you know, all that kind of stuff like that. And I hate it. People with perfect pitch, if they don't have the right guidance, if they don't have somebody like really on them and a teacher that knows how to challenge them, they get kind of lazy. And it's a thing that happens with a lot of perfect pitch people. You've probably heard this story before. It's unfortunate that a lot of perfect pitch people or people who excel don't get a chance to challenge themselves. And because certain things are too easy, they forget how to work. So I realized, I started talking to my friends who didn't have perfect pitch because I wanted to learn how to learn. I wanted to learn from them, like, how do you recognize stuff? I can hear notes, but in terms of transposition, this is where perfect pitch sucks. I'm telling you right now, you probably think That makes no sense. You can look at a note and hear it. Well, here's the problem. For the first 5 years of me thinking about this, I would hear a note and then see the saxophone fingering chart. Like if I hear A flat, like 1 2 3 1, it would pop up in my head. But I would have to switch gears really fast in order to play on something like tenor, or switch gears really fast to play flute, because I have this idea that this note is attached to this instrument. This is like one of the examples of how perfect pitch can be a crutch, because you're hearing everything, you don't know how to make sense of it on the page.
Right.
So that's a challenge.
As I mentioned before, if you want to get access to the whole interview, the whole replay, that is available inside the Inner Circle membership. You can see the link there, or just click the link in the description. It's a fantastic community with a great portal full of really well-curated content that isn't going to overwhelm you, but it is guaranteed to move the needle on your playing, get you out of a rut, and make 2024 your best saxophone year ever. So go and check out the Inner Circle there. You've got a free 7-day trial. So nothing to lose whatsoever. Hopefully I'll see you inside the Inner Circle membership. And let's get back to some of the highlights from that interview with Patrick Bartley. Whenever we have a jazz guest in the Inner Circle, I always have them improvise a chorus on Cherokee and then ask what was going on in their head. But with Patrick, I put an interesting twist on it and got an even more interesting response back. Here's his Cherokee first in concert B flat. But then I asked him to do the same thing in concert B, and if anything, it was even better. But then it turns out there's an unexpected and crazy reason for him being so fluent on Cherokee in concert B.
You know, the funny thing for me is that I always have been hearing in B kind of my whole life. And one of the reasons why is because those old Charlie Parker recordings, man, they're like all sharp for the most part, unless you get ones that were digitally restored with the right RPM on the record or something, you know. That recording that I had for years was in B, and so I heard that in B. Same thing with Drifting on a Reed, like so like I kept hearing that, and here's the problem with hearing that in B. The charts that you're given are in B flat, and what they played was in B flat. So I'm hearing it in B and then getting these charts in B flat, and then you go to the jam session, everybody's playing these songs in B flat. In my mind, I'm kind of scratching my head because I'm not hearing anything in B flat when I play.
Patrick's sound communicates straight to my heart and soul, and he expanded and demonstrated how important it is to have a passionate, vocal, bluesy cry available in your sax toolkit to get that soaring sound like Cannonball Adderley on Easy to Love or Kenny Garrett on Always There.
He's going, I'm like, wow, like, he like that. That's what he played. Cannonball played exactly that. It's like, man, there's so like I spent 2 hours on just like that one, just like after the notes. I spent 2 hours just like if I played through that first chorus, and got like one inflection wrong, I restarted the recording. I was like, nope, play it again. If I'm not getting that dynamic, if I'm not getting the like that's what sticks out to me. So to get to your question about the Kenny Garrett thing, that's all vocal. It's all vocal. It's all like imagining, you know, like you played that Kenny Garrett solo. Like, when I'm thinking about that, you know, I'm like when he goes like, you got to be able to hear that because that's what the sound comes from. So my image from that is there's a certain amount of kind of vocality, the way a singer would just, yeah, and that's Kenny. Woo, woo, that's Kenny. You know that? That's Kenny. You know what I'm saying? So I just learned how to do that thing. But man, you gotta get your hands dirty to get that sound. It needs to come from a very passionate place. The same passion that you have when listening, you have to learn to translate the listening passion to the playing passion.
Man, so much wisdom. Honestly, when I'm out walking Queenie in the morning, I'll often put on that Patrick Bartley interview and listen to it again and again. There's so many awesome knowledge bombs. Remember, you can get full access inside the Inner Circle. But if you want something for absolutely free, go and check out my free Saxophone Success Masterclass that you can see there. And the link is in the description. There's a bunch of awesome stuff there, which is really going to move the needle on your playing. It's absolutely free. You just fill in your email. Job's done. So go and check out the free Masterclass. Now, in the meantime, if you bought me a coffee, thank you so much. You can do so using the link that you can see there. You're very generous and it really helps. The caffeine helps these videos happen. Until next week, when we've got more fantastic content on getting sax together, make sure you practice hard, practice smart, and enjoy your music. Take it easy, guys.